For our final speaker for the evening is Thomaides with a speech titled The Silent Mentor. I will be her evaluator. So she has 5 to 7 minutes. And the purpose of her speech is, the purpose of this project is for Christine to clearly define how Toastmasters envision mentoring. And the purpose of this specific speech is for the member to share some aspect of a previous experience as a protege. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Christine Thomaides with The Silent Mentor. The Silent Mentor, Christine Thomaides.
Had to rewrite it because of the epiphany and rearrange the whole aspect of the speech. So now just to give you a bit of background, I was married for 21 years, and for the same amount of time I was married, I worked for the same company for 21 years. And I'm sure you've seen these new phrases, work husband, work wife. Okay, so I realized now I had a work husband, Martinez Jacobus van der Merwe, or fondly known to everybody as Marco. Now, for the 21 years I worked at the same firm, for the last 5 years, I wasn't a permanent employee and I would just go in and train new staff. So when I got divorced, I wasn't employed. So I wasn't in the right state of mind to be employed, because I sort of lost the plot a little bit. So I lost my husband and his family. I can't go visit the in-laws. I do now. Now I don't care. Now I go visit them. See, I probably see them more than he sees them. And I lost my work husband and the firm that was also like my family after 29 years. The wheels fell off even more, and I lost my house. Now I've got 2 daughters, I've got 11 years between the two, the youngest one is still living at home. She had to go live permanently with her father, and I had to go move in with a friend. And then me and my daughter came up with a plan. Because of all this and the trauma of all of this for both of us, she decided she wanted to stay in Manchester. So we made plans. So I went over first. For the last 18 months of her schooling, we commuted backwards and forwards. And then she was going to come and join me in the UK. We did most of the paperwork. And in the February, when she was supposed to come over, or rather the March, she was supposed to come over, what happened in the February? COVID. So I'm over there, and she's over here. So my dark hole just got deeper and deeper and deeper. The house that I lost was paid off, 6 million rand, no bond, but there were attorneys in the estate, and they, by hook or by crook, they stole my house. I walked out with a suitcase, with no imagination on how to fight it. Now, my work husband, I didn't work for him the entire time. So for the 15 years I worked there, I sort of moved departments a little bit, but me and him always came back together. People say, oh, it's a love affair, we're getting back together. It's just that we worked really well together. I think he's still there. He's about to retire. And he was very supportive. If I needed to leave, to go somewhere, to go to another department, it was better for me. He was very supportive. And he was also the most organized person I have ever met in my entire life. And as I said, I had an epiphany. And as I started with the speech, it began unraveling. It was a little bit of therapy for me, to be fair. So I'm in England, my daughter's over here. The part-time job I had over there also fell apart. Now I'm sitting there, the days are just, I've moved in with my parents. I mean, I'm in my 50s, for goodness sake, and I'm living with my parents, with my suitcase in my old room. I had a great view, so that was good. Holcomb Hill, I could see it, I can still see it from my room. And the days were just rolling into each other, just rolling and rolling and rolling into each other. And then I thought, well, I got up one morning. In fact, no, I didn't even think. I just started putting plans in because the holes were just getting bigger and bigger, and I was just drowning. And I'm a very positive person, but all of this all at once was a little bit much. And then I started putting plans and processing them into place, and exercising for an hour, reading my Bible for an hour, meditating for half an hour, journaling for an hour, because I had all this time. And then I was doing all sorts of other things at the same time as well, like doing short courses. And it's only when I was putting the speech together and I thought back and I realized, and I'm sure many of you here, especially Hein and maybe you, I plan in advance. So I ask people, do you want to do a speech 2 meetings in front? Do you want to do, so not for the next meeting, everybody does for the next meeting. I do 2 or 3 meetings in front because I like things to be planned and organized. And I realized why. Because Marco van der Merwe, I am sure, was the co-author of the book 8 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey. I don't know if anybody's read the book, and I don't think he would need to read it. He was a data programmer before he was a lawyer. So everything was like this. I'm going to be aware of it. Steve Covey, in one of his chapters, talks about 4 quadrants of workflow. Crisis, important, non-urgent, and mundane. In Marco's office, he had pigeonholes for work. And then he put pigeonholes in my office for the flow of work. I just followed him because he was my boss and I had to do it his way. I'm sure we all know people when they go on leave at work and then 2 days later somebody needs something, nobody can find it. Not on Marco's watch. His IT systems, his folders, there's no subfolder, subfolder, subfolder. Everything's by the book. You go into his office, open his cupboard, leave arch files, and I didn't do it. Leave arch files. Everything's perfectly planned. You can find somebody come and ask me something, I can find it within 2 minutes. At Spoon Fisher, where we worked, when you become a senior partner, what happens is that the partners get 3 months sabbatical every second year. 3 months. He was so organized that not only having his practice, he got to be in charge of a department of 4 people. Then they gave him another department. Then they gave him another department. Then they gave him another department. 50 people. And here he would still waltz off and go on 3 months sabbatical. And everything would run like clockwork. Like clock. I mean, Kilimanjaro, he's gone to Peru. Oh, you can't get hold of him. No, you don't need to. Because he's organized. They say our habits form our lives and our destinies. If they are positive ones, and they build us up. The negative ones, before we blink, we're going off in this tangent. I was never an organized person. But I realize now doing the speech, and I know I am now, and I'm like, oh, I'm quite proud, I'm organized. But now doing the speech, and presenting and putting the speech together, I realized what lifted me out of that hole was me putting plans and processes in place that I learned from my mentor, my silent mentor, because I didn't realize what effect of how he worked has affected me as a person. And I would look at it that I'm organized today. But it's, when I look back, I was actually quite tearful when I put the speech together and I realized that is what saved me. So ladies and gentlemen, do you have a silent mentor that you wouldn't necessarily think of, whether it's your mother or your father or a colleague at work somebody that you've learned such a lot from that causes you to have an excellent habit. Find your silent mentor, and it will uplift you like it has for me today. Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, thank you, Christine. Fine. Well, can you please have her time? And
I have beaten more.
and bear in mind, she did play her DTN card, the don't time
Yeah.
card.
We don't mind, it was a good speech to listen to. It was 9 minutes 20.
All right. I'm going to start the evaluation. So, right. Christine, your speech was very open and honest. It did not appear disorganized, even though you just had your epiphany, what was it, earlier today?
Yes.
Well, it also shows what effect Marco has had on you, even as you did your speech. How his influence has become an integral part of who you are. Not just that, how it lifted you out, or inadvertently lifted you out from a hell of a slump, especially at your age. No offense. I think one note I made here was, old dogs can still learn new tricks. So that's very true. So that was, your speech did not appear like, it was very conversational almost. You drew us in very nicely, and you started with that, I had an epiphany. Okay, cool. What epiphany? I want to hear more about it. And I was not disappointed. I think I think for these people, none of them were disappointed. If anyone else was here, they would also not be disappointed. I think you also drew us in with your pauses. It was perfectly timed, especially very much so at the beginning. And towards the middle and end of your speech, it was very conversational. You just sort of let your feelings take over, but you weren't overpowered by your feelings. To challenge yourself, there is, for what you may want to work on, I'd have to be nitpicky. As you just had some slight repetition where you were speaking about the 8 habits of highly effective people by Steve Covey. But again, that's me being very nitpicky. You may want to work on, I don't think there is a lot to work on. I actually don't think I'm the right evaluator for that speech. I mean, you are at a much higher level than most speakers. And I would be much more comfortable with you being my evaluator than necessarily me evaluating you. No, there was very little, I had to be very nitpicky, and I think I already was that. I think others would be a bit more honest. I can say they might see some things that I definitely missed, or that might make sense for me. Yes, that's all. Well done, Christine.
So just a note on the